Here's some NFL playoff information that you didn't know that you needed to know. Now, let me get my sticky note because I wrote this down because there's no way I can remember all this. So the first thing I want to say, any team that scores first in the playoffs this year has a 90% chance of winning the game based off statistics. So there's been 10 games played this year. Out of all 10 of those games, in 9 of them, the team that goes on to win the game is the team that actually scored first. Not the team that got the ball first, but the team that actually scored first. The only situation where that did not happen was, again, the Chiefs versus the Bills. So in every single other game in the NFL playoffs this year, the team that scores first has won 90% of the time. Another thing that is kind of interesting, I don't know why this is interesting to me, but there have been 2 blocked field goal attempts in the NFL playoffs this year. The 2 teams that have blocked those 2 field goals went on to lose the game. One of those blocked field goals being my Steelers, the other blocked field goal being the Green Bay Packers. And both of those teams went on to lose their games. I don't know why. I don't even know if this matters, but I just found it fascinating that that is the thing. Number 3 that has happened in the NFL playoffs, every team that went in winning the game at halftime ended up winning the game when it was all said and done. Now, there's 2 games that were tied at halftime. And then when those games ended, the team that scored first in those 2 games ended up winning the game. That being the Texans and and Baltimore, they were 10-10 at half. And the other one being the Lions and the Bucks. They were 10-10 at half. But the winner of those games ended up being the team that scored first, going back to my first stat. The only time that did not happen was in the Bills and the Chiefs games, in Bills and Chiefs game. The Bills were actually winning at halftime by 3. Obviously, we now know that the Chiefs ended up winning that game. So again, random stats that you didn't know that you needed to know, but here we are. The last thing I will say that is, we call it interesting, whatever, is that we have a couple of quarterbacks that are matching up that most people would say are game managers this weekend against a division where people would say we have the best quarterbacks. So the AFC matchup this week is against 2 really great quarterbacks. The NFC matchup this week is against quarterbacks that, you can call game managers. You can call them whatever you want, but it's kind of interesting to me watching the dynamic between the NFC and AFC. I personally think the AFC has the better quarterbacks. I don't even think that it's like a close comparison. I think that the AFC has 5 quarterbacks that no matter where you put them and what system they play in, they're going to be better than the NFC quarterbacks, in my personal opinion. So it's just an interesting matchup this weekend to see who's going to come out on top. But I will say, the quarterback play in the NFC, whatever, I've made this video before about quarterback play. I do want to mention that the reffing is still terrible in the playoffs. It hasn't changed. So again, just some things to look out for this weekend. Pay attention to who scores first because it has mattered this far in the playoffs. 90% is a pretty good percentage. Pay attention to who has blacked field goals. That's not necessarily a good thing. I would say also pay attention to who is winning at halftime. If it's tied, obviously, like I gave you the statistic before, pay attention to that. Also, don't expect for the officiating is going to be any better this weekend. I think it's going to get interesting to see how the NFL officiates the AFC championship matchup game. I don't trust anything they do when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. So it'll be interesting to see how they referee that game, and it's in Baltimore, and it's for it. Like, this is for the Super Bowl. So it'll be interesting to see how that rolls out. And I will be interested to see who out of the game managers wins in the NFC. So I don't know who I'm picking yet. I just want to see good football, fair football, consistent football, all of those things. And hell, let the best team win.